What's going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to another episode of Nuggets Today, brought to you by Underdog. If you guys did not know, we're officially sponsored by Underdog. So go ahead, download this app right here, use that QR code, and I'll have a promo code out for you guys in a little while. But there are a couple things to touch on when it comes to this Denver Nuggets team. Obviously, Spencer Jones and Zeke Nnaji, two guys who don't play in the game just due to injury, which sort of makes the MPJ trade look a little bit better because you're able to get guys who can play off the bench. I mean, Payne Watson was already there, Zeke Nnaji was already there, but you get Bruce, you end up, Duran comes back from an injury, but you get Valanciunas, you get Tim Hardaway, you get to bring in some players. Obviously, Cam was involved in the trade as well, but Payne Watson and Tim Hardaway Jr. somehow, some way get hurt for the Denver Nuggets in yesterday's game. I believe it was a Tim Hardaway knee injury and a Payne Watson hamstring injury. And later on in the game, Christian Braun ends up having to stop the game just because he had blood on his hand and his pants. And he ends up limping. I don't know if the injury is severe or maybe it was just a little tweak or a little stinger that made him limp, but the Denver Nuggets cannot figure out a way to stop the injuries right now. Now, I don't know the severity of Tim Hardaway or Payne Watson's injuries, but they don't come back and they don't play for the remainder of the game. Maybe that was just a decision by the coaching staff because this is an easier game on paper than the majority of the games coming up, and they want to just rest the guys and not have them deal with any bigger injuries than what had occurred in the game. But Payne Watson only plays 9 minutes. Tim Hardaway Jr. plays 10 minutes. And like I said, that was it. Denver's still able to pull off the win, which is great without those two guys. Like I said, that trade looks a little bit better because you're able to bring in Bruce. You're able to bring in those guys. Valanciunas got an extended role in the game yesterday as well. But like I said, it just doesn't stop. So, you're missing Spence, you're missing Zeke, and then Tim Hardaway and P-Watt go down, and Christian Braun ends up limping. So, this is definitely a rough patch for Denver. But at the same time, I guess right now is the time to deal with the adversity and get over it and get through it and be able to pull out those kinds of wins. Now, talking about the, dealing with everything now, there are a couple things that scare me going into this playoff race. The Denver Nuggets are sitting at 4 right now, so they are holding the home court advantage. That could always change, though. Like I continue to talk about, that middle of the pack playoffs in the Western Conference is very tight. But the defense down low, and I talk about it so much, it scares the living hell out of me because you look at a game against the Jazz, and listen, Kyle Filipowski is a very good young player. I think he's going to have a good career in the NBA, but at the same time, 25 points and 12 rebounds. He fully dominates the paint. You went 3 for 8 from the three-point line, which is fine because then, again, that makes up 9 of your 25, but the remainder of those 25 are coming from the paint mostly. And we've seen this time and time again when it comes down to the Denver Nuggets and the big men that the big men they're facing throughout the entire season. The other thing that makes me nervous is I don't want to say stamina, but it looks like at times this Nugget team can't keep up with younger and faster and higher paced teams, and it gets them frustrated. And when you look at the Western Conference right now, the San Antonio Spurs, the Houston Rockets are sort of in that tier as well. I know they have KD, Clint Capella, Dorian Finney-Smith, Okogie, all those guys. But, Reed Shepard, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, granted, they've been a little off recently. Teams like that, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Rockets, those teams make me nervous now, and I do think that the Rockets are still the best choice or the best option for the Denver Nuggets to play in the playoffs, but those teams make me nervous just because they can now outrun the Denver Nuggets, and we've been seeing that. Every single game, I feel like that the Nuggets played the Jazz, who aren't a good team. They are going to be. I think they're going to be special in a couple of years. They just get outran. That's all it comes down to. These games are close because the Utah Jazz run on them. The Nuggets get frustrated. Jokic turns the ball over and he starts to throw his hands up. Does one of these, and I get it because it's frustrating. That's a frustrating. Again, if you're getting fouled, if you think that you got hit and they don't call it, I understand. But at the same time, it makes me nervous because these teams can now take advantage of the Denver Nuggets being a little bit slower and not having that youth that those other teams have. Now, before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. That's right, 5,000 times your cash. I'm going to look at one of the games with two of the most exciting teams, in my opinion, in the NBA. That is the Charlotte Hornets versus the Phoenix Suns. I think both teams are good. They're both pushing playoff spots, and the LaMelo Ball projection of 19.5 still seems a little bit low for me. I know Dillon Brooks is back, so they get the defense, but he's just too good of a player. I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to be able to score from anywhere he wants because that's what LaMelo does. When it comes down to the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker, monster, amazing, one of the best scorers in the entire NBA. There's no doubt about that. The 25.5 point projection is a little low for me as well, just because the Hornets defense, in my opinion, is not great. I mean, they're a good team, but overall not amazing. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first of $5. That's promo code BASKETBALLFAN on your screen right now. Underdog, make picks, win money.
18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/playing, get terms, DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text PMI 467-369.
Now, Jamal Murray is a guy who we have to talk about because we continuously do it, and it's because he has been amazing this season. I think that he should be in the most improved player column, but at the same time, he is just that good of a player that you can't really throw him in there. I know that's for guys who are bench players who end up getting a starting role, whatever. Jamal Murray hits 10 threes in this game, and there's some other things I want to point out about Jamal Murray. And it's not really only his scoring, which again he's the leading scorer for this Denver Nuggets team. Drops 37 points, 5 and 4, only 1 turnover in the entire game, plus 20, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 10 for 16 from the 3-point line, 12 for 26 from the field. Great game overall for Jamal Murray. Obviously, the players around him played well as well. But the whole thing about Jamal Murray that I want to look at, and this is when you do the math to the decimal point, if you go look up his stats, this is the highest amount of rebounds that he has averaged in his career. And I think that that's important because the Denver Nuggets are sort of reliant on Michael Porter Jr. being the second rebounder last year, a guy who was able to come in and to grab boards. But this has been a year where we see Jamal Murray, I think, try on the boards more than we ever have before. And I think that it's just because he is determined to win because Denver has a roster to do it this year. Early in the game, you see Nikola Jokic fighting for a board down low, and Jamal Murray comes out of nowhere. Nobody even sees him, comes right under the basket, grabs the board, and goes. Like I said, I believe he's at around 4.4 rebounds this year, which is, again, to the decimal point, statistically the highest amount of rebounds that Jamal Murray has ever averaged. So I think that all around he has just been the best version of himself we've ever seen. I miss the athletic Jamal Murray where he's doing up and under and 360 layups, but I'm also fine with that if that means that he is going to be grabbing the most rebounds that he's ever grabbed, if that means he is going to be hitting 10 threes in a game, granted against a bad team, but at the same time, knowing that he can get hot and start a game the way he did where he hits 9 or goes for 9 straight right off of threes, that's the Jamal Murray that this Denver Nuggets team ends up needing. Now, when it comes down to the community talk, I love doing this segment because I get to talk about topics that you guys bring up and questions you guys ask, and I did bring up the expansion draft, and I got the question of who would Denver protect if the expansion draft did happen. Now, of course, I think it was 28-29 is the expansion draft year, so, or I believe it's 28-29 or 27-28, so it would have to be a player who's under contract, and at this point, Denver doesn't have many of those. You have Jamal Murray, who has a player option. You have Zeke Naji, who has a player option 27-28, and you need to extend Nikola Jokic. And if that's the case, then the 3 guys that you have on contract, or not Jamal Murray with the player option, rather, it's Aaron Gordon with the player option. You would have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, and then if you extend Peyton Watson, would be the only guys on contract for the Denver Nuggets at the point of the expansion draft. So I think that those guys are obviously going to be protected. Again, who knows what the rest of the roster looks like at that point. The one thing I think could be, I don't want to say funny, but an option for the Denver Nuggets would just be if Christian Brown does not improve his offensive game and go back to what we saw that he was capable of doing last year, to maybe put him in the expansion draft just to get off of the contract. Because in my opinion, I love the expansion draft just because I think that teams are going to be trying to get rid of players who are on bad contracts. I think that a guy like Paul George, let's say, who is on an extreme deal, is going to be up there. I think that, like I said, Christian Brown could be a guy who's up there. He's a little bit younger. Again, am I saying it's going to happen? No. But at the same time, if teams want to get off of contracts, it's a smart way to do it and not protect those players. Are they going to get drafted? No, maybe not. There's one player per team. So let's say Denver has Deron Holmes in the expansion draft and Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon. Again, these are all hypotheticals. I believe that all these guys would be protected if they were on the team. But let's say the Nuggets put up Deron Holmes, Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, and let's just say Julian Strawther, because those are players on the team now. and you're sort of hoping that they take on, let's say, Aaron Gordon's contract just because he is making the most money, and the team ends up drafting Deron Holmes. Nobody can draft any more Denver Nuggets players, so it goes to it's one player per team, which I think is I think it's fun. You can't really screw any other teams over by taking majority of their players that are in there. But at the same time, I don't think that the Nuggets would not protect anybody that I just mentioned. So Jokic, AG, Jamal, if P-Watt is extended, CB, I would expect them all to be protected by the Denver Nuggets. And then it comes down to just the bench players and the role players that the Denver Nuggets have and protecting those guys at that point. Anyway, that is all I got for you guys today, Nuggets Nation. Like I always say, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below if you guys want me to cover anything. And I will catch you guys tomorrow.